Meanwhile, speaking of the presidential elections, new polling's out. Biden's lead seems to be durable for the time being. I think we will have a much better sense within 2 months. I still stand by my prediction that he will be third in the polls by the end of October. 2 more debates, I think, should be able to do it. People paying attention should be able to do it. Increasingly, though, I will admit this. I may be wrong about the where he is in the polls, but my concerns about it have increased. When you are in August, a year and a half out from the general election, and you are pitching yourself. Now, granted, this is not Joe Biden pitching himself. This is his wife, who's a politician's wife. She's not freelancing here, folks. When you are pitching yourself as the candidate you may not like, but is probably the best, you've got a problem. Like when you are conceding publicly as a pitch that many of you do not like the policies and know that he's not good on this stuff, you're basically, you're depressing your own supporters by making them wonder, like, wait a second, what? But you're also basically just saying, we want the least energized, the least committed, the least enthusiastic base of support we could possibly muster for this. And that's going to carry us over the victory, over the winning, the finish line.
We want idiots that vote.
But she's not even, it's worse than that. She wants smart people who are willing to suck it up. And now, I understand on some level if you're saying this as a last-ditch effort in the general election. I get it. But we're in the middle of the primary and she's having to say this.
But she's saying like that's their base, is like people who don't they're not paying attention to healthcare as much as.
So yes, your candidate might be better on, I don't know, healthcare than Joe is. But you've got to look at who's going to win this election. And maybe you have to swallow a little bit and say, okay, I sort of personally like so-and-so better. But your bottom line has to be that we have to. Because I know that not all of you are committed to my husband. And I respect that. But I want you to think about your candidate, his or her electability, and who's going to win this race. And so if you're looking at that, you've got to look at the polls. And, a lot of times I say, polls don't mean anything, But if they're consistent and they're consistently saying the same thing, I think you can't dismiss that. I mean, you all deal with facts. So I think if your goal, I know my goal is to beat Donald Trump, we have to have someone who can beat him. And so if you look at the polls, if you look at Joe with his record with independents, we can't just have Democrats who are going to win. We have to include everybody. Our party has to be more inclusive, which means we have to go to independents and say, join us. We have to go to Republicans and say, okay, you're a Republican, but you can't tell me that your children are proud of the president, of the things he says.
Well, pause it. Wait a second. This part is even just the most reprehensible. I have 2 words for Dr. Biden in terms of this. You can't tell your children. Jason Chaffetz. It took him about a week and a half to go from I can't look my daughter in the eye after he says I grabbed the vagina. I don't know why I thought that would be less likely to get demonetized than.
It's a clinical
I can't.
term.
I can't.
After I grab the
can't.
woman's
I-
private area. Is
After
that
I
okay,
grab the
YouTube?
private
Please
area.
keep giving me
You know,
my
and then
money.
a week later, the guy comes back and goes, yeah, it turns out she was cool with that. Good.
Children are proud of the president, of the things he says, and you can't, as a mother or as a father, how can you be proud of that president as a leader? And I think if you look at where Joe is in the polls in Michigan, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, where we're both from, he's leading all the other candidates. So yes, your candidate might be better on, I don't know, healthcare than Joe is. But you've got to look at who's going to win this election. And maybe you have to swallow a little bit and say, okay, I sort of personally like
Wait, is she repeating herself again?
But
Actually, I think they spliced the
Wait,
clip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did she just admit that her husband is bad on healthcare?
Yes.
My wife says she don't like me.
There's
but
a lot
I
of people
win a
better
race.
than him. I mean, look, the reality is that the polls show that at least the top 3 candidates could beat Donald Trump. But we also know that the polls showed that Hillary Clinton could beat Donald Trump. And to the extent that we can draw any parallels from 2016 to now, I've said many times before, there was a perfect storm. There's a lot of different things that matched up that were really, that were within and without Hillary Clinton's ability to control that impacted the final outcome of that election. But the one thing that we can say that is true and that I think allowed it to be as close as it was the lack of enthusiasm for her candidacy, broadly speaking. And to have a candidate for whom the enthusiasm is so low, let's make it clear here. Like, there were obviously hardcore Hillary Clinton supporters. There are not hardcore Joe Biden supporters. Like, there is a far greater deficit. If their appeal at this point is to concede that his policies stink.
Even his own wife is not a hardcore Biden supporter, it seems.
We have many friends
Tepid.
who are
Very
Uzbeks, and they're good
It's
people.
like Jeb's mom
tepid.
energy.
Total Jeb's mom energy. It's like sometimes he's incontinent, sometimes he urinates on himself while reminiscing
think
about
that-
running with Strom Thurmond, but he still pulls well.
Okay, well, bless me, Father, if I have sinned.
Do you think that he goes home to dinner and says, like, sweetheart, is there something you want to tell me? And she just goes, oh, shut up, Joe.
I think he says, sweetheart, go to...
Go to Joe 30330 and help me.
Man, we are straight up making fun of somebody going senile.
Oh, I
It's
don't
his
think
fault
that's
for
true.
running.
Oh, I do.
That's true.
And I don't have a problem with it. I'm just noting it.
Public figure.
I don't care.
No, I don't think.
But
I
mean, look, if the whole argument hinges on polling, Bernie Sanders dominating Trump in the polls without all of the potential downsides you're identifying.
Yeah, it seemed like she was using his winning in the polls for the primary as evidence that he could beat Trump.
No,
Did I hear
he
that
does
wrong?
well
There
to
are-
head-to-heads.
aren't all 3 top
Warren-
candidates are
All
beating
the-
Trump?
All of them beat Trump. None
In
of
like
them
Even
Texas.
Harris, I
spread.
think.
I think some of them are beating him in Texas.
The one that
yeah.
not beating him straight up is Buttigieg. Buttigieg loses, and then the spread gets smaller and smaller. It's like 8-10 Bernie Biden, then like 4-5 Warren, then like 2-3 Harris.
They have to be beating him by enough that they could still lose. Otherwise, it's not interesting.
There you go. So, all right, let's take a look here. What we got? That Joe stuff really, I think, is a little bit. It's a little bit disturbing. It makes me more and more nervous.
sort of
frankly.
depressing.
It's like seeing a train
I mean,
go down tracks. That
from the very
bridge is
beginning,
out.
I have not been a fan of Joe Biden's, but it really is only since just before the first debate where I started to get that feeling of like, wait a second, this may be worse than that.
People don't learn lessons.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Don't bring up lessons.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
We should explore that for a little while.
Lessons?
Let's take up some time.
But a function of politics, not lessons.
All right.
I
What should
mean,
we go
I
to?
think that I don't know. Those numbers for him, though, are going to be very resilient. And the disturbing pattern is that he gets, like, not dramatic, but he seems to get, like, these little drops after debates. And then a couple weeks later, he bounces right back up.
The thing to keep in mind is that we are still in an era where vast majority of people are not remotely paying attention to any of this. The
Sure,
vast majority
absolutely.
of people.
100%.
And so things like name recognition go very far. And I would say they probably help Bernie to a certain extent, name recognition, but it helps, Biden the most in terms of just like the names that people recognize. And as people pay more attention, I think we will see maybe some changes. I hope, but we'll see. All right.